Welcome to another episode of Toronto Creative Podcast. I'm very excited to have Andrea Lo today. She's an event planner and she also runs her dating business from Toronto. So we'll get right into it, but I'm very excited. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrea.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Absolutely. So why don't we start with your background, how you got into the business a little bit, both your event planning business and your dating website, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Andrea, and I have two businesses. It's Toronto Event Hub as well as Toronto Dating Hub. I actually started my businesses during the pandemic, so it was a COVID baby.
Did you start both of them at the same time?
It actually started off as Dating Hub first, and I guess I'll go into that. So during the pandemic, actually my business came from like a sad part of my life, which during the pandemic, I was one of the people who got laid off. Mm-hmm. So I was working a job for like 9 years at a marketing agency. So my background and all that is marketing and events. So I was laid off. And at the time, the person I was dating, he broke up with me. So then there's my job loss, the boyfriend loss, and then my family being really strict Asian, parents and family. They're like, unless you're going to stay in our bubble and live with us again, you cannot come see us, right? So their family, career, love loss sort of thing. So it was like the trifecta.
And the isolation from pandemic.
Exactly. So it was a really dark time, and I definitely did the ugly crying and all that stuff. But then I was like, I'm going to take this energy and all this time that I have, and I'm like, what can I do? So, in marketing business, you find a niche, and I was like, okay, I know how to do events. I know how to do marketing. I'm single. And what can I do? And I'm like, let's do singles events, because at the time people were isolated, right? And I'm like, if I was feeling like this, I can't imagine to those people who are introverted, not a lot of friends, etc. So I started doing like Zoom events, like Zoom dating events, because at the time nothing was open, right?
Okay.
So I kind of started out with like virtual house parties, and I started doing events, and that's how sort of Toronto Dating Hub was born. And then it's because no one was doing events, so it really started booming. Like, people were like, wait, what is this thing that's happening? Like, people really liked it. And as soon as I could do in-person events, and I had all that time to talk to the businesses, because all the restaurants and bars were hurting, right? So as soon as we could go in person, I was paying attention to all the sort of, can you have 10 people, 25 people in a room, all that. I started doing events. But my events, really creative events. I'm the first in the world to do jet ski speed dating. So earlier you had mentioned like Hitch, the movie. So when I tell people what I do, they're like, you're like the modern day Hitch. Especially because on the date that they go on, they do jet skiing.
They do jet skiing, yeah.
Exactly. So, so far, no one else I know does jet ski speeding in Toronto or the GTA. So it continues to be a very, very popular event and a staple of how creative and unique my singles events are. And so, yeah, that's sort of how Toronto Dating Hub started. And now I do date coaching as well.
Nice. That's really good. I love how you turned your the dark times, as you mentioned, into something positive. So that's great. Kudos to you for that. Did you have any? We're gonna get into dating. I know probably that's what audience wants to hear, but before that, did you have any sort of business background before? Like, did you run your business before? How did you know how to set it up, registration, plan, all that stuff, like good stuff that you have to do when you learn a business?
I think I didn't even follow all the rules like your usual. I did go to business school, so I went to U of T.
Oh, so you did have some background.
Yes,
okay.
I definitely had. I went to school for business and management.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about how long ago I've graduated, but they don't teach you a lot of those like entrepreneur business things. It's like the basic, the 4 P's of marketing, all that. So, it's surrounding yourself with like smart people on Facebook. You join all those different Facebook groups for entrepreneurs and startups, and I definitely have a lot of friends who are business owners, so it's sort of like learning, and actually there's a lot of government sources online if you're like, how to start a business, do I have to apply for a license, should I do sole proprietorship, et cetera, like that. So I sort of learned by, obviously Google's your best friend, you research, but also surround yourself with the smart people and, navigate your way. So, but honestly, in the first, I don't think I even had a logo or a website for the first 1.5, 2 years of my business. Everything wrote on my Instagram page. Like, within like, I think a week or two, I had like 2,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't need a logo or a website. Like, it was crazy because as long as I was, putting content on my Instagram, and sure, for the beginning, I had stock photos, because what else are you going to show as like, events? But as soon as I had, events, I don't like stock photos. I'm like, I don't like to lie and be shady. I'm like, these are the singles that come out to my event, because a lot of businesses are like, I have to put pretty looking, attractive people. And I'm like, no, I'm real. Like, I want to feature people who actually come to my events. So the first, images was like the Zoom images of the blocks, like the Brady Brunch, like those photos. But I'm always about authentic connections, authentic, advertising. I think that's what really resonated with my community to, achieve that sort of word of mouth, that referral. And I sell out of my events all the time. Yeah.
Wow, that speaks a lot. You mentioned within a couple of weeks you have 2,000 followers, and this is you not having a website or a logo.
And I've actually probably it's almost 3 years now, I think I may have spent $10 on advertising.
Wow.
Everything is like, I use free sites to like post my events on, like, Eventbrite, Meetup, Facebook group. It doesn't cost anything. I don't pay for ads. I think the one time I paid like the $10 was like, I'm just going to try Facebook ads, because.
Did it work?
Didn't really convert. You'd have to spend a lot of money. I'm sure the experts will tell you, like, you have to spend a lot of money. It's like a funnel, right?
Consistently, like I guess over months.
That, or just like spend a lot to then get the conversion, right? But I felt like for my events at the beginning, right, I needed only 25 people, because that's all you could fit in a restaurant. Like, I only needed 25 people. I mean, between you, me, and like some friends and just word of mouth, like I could sell out very easily. Now it's like I do 40, 60. Actually, I'm hosting an event tonight, and there's 80 people. I didn't spend a single cent on advertising. Like, it's just word of mouth and my Eventbrite and my Instagram. And a lot of the times I don't even post. I just put stories, because I kind of get lazy. And I do all the marketing myself. Like, I run everything myself. So I put a story with a link. I haven't even put an actual, the poster for it. It was just stories. And I was selling tickets. And that has been my success, miraculously through the 2-3 years I've been running that dating business.
Well, that definitely speaks. I like what you said about like an authentic connection and focusing on that. Do you also think there's a high demand? I'm guessing there's a very high demand for that. Like, well, even when you said your first event was sold out, or 25 people, was it?
The beginning was tough, because it was still the heart of pandemic. So I was doing like Zoom events. So the very beginning, it was slow. But as soon as people started catching wind, and again, with singles events, it's not like any other events where like you don't want a sausage fest, so you need the equal ratio.
Which is what people think what dating scene is, right?
I work really hard to ensure that there is an equal ratio. Like, even right now for tonight's event with 80 guests, it's 50-50. And that's hard to achieve, because I actually get a lot of male clients and male attendees. Like, because there's a theory that I have. It's like, men, you can go eat dinner, watch a movie by yourself, like in public, no problem, right? You don't have, I call it the washroom theory too. Have you ever noticed, like, if you're around
washroom
females,
theory? No, tell me.
When you
about
go
that.
let's say that you're going to eat dinner with friends at a restaurant, and then someone has to go to the washroom. You as a male won't be like, yo, bro, you want to go to the washroom together? They'll be like, that's really awkward, right? Women, we're like, I have to go to the washroom. Me too. Let's go together, right? And you almost like, we start taking pictures in the washroom, we do things, and we want to go together. It's like a together thing, right? So women will flock together, and they want to go. They want, like, it's almost like they won't be caught dead going to a singles event by themselves. They're scared. They don't know who's there. They want to go alone. So that is why part of my pricing strategy, I always have a bring a girlfriend deal. So it incentivizes a female to bring their friend, and then they get a discount and a lower rate. For me, it's great, because then that doubles my numbers for girls in a very easy way. So there's a lot of, in my business, like, you got to be smart.
That's great. Like, I love learning this dynamics from you, because we talk about it all the time. Actually, recently, me and my wife were talking about, so my wife is Latina, and her family is very like macho, like, Latina stereotypical family. One of her cousins came out as gay, and that was a big deal. Like, strict Catholic, like, and then we and my wife were talking about it, and she said, guys, a lot of the time they don't engage in activities like going to the washrooms together, because that's just an example I'm using because we were just talking about it. It's because they're scared, not because they're scared they're gay, but they're scared they will like it. Do you think that's true?
They're just scared they'll like it?
Yeah, like because obviously, like, if you're going to the washroom together, you're not gay, or like if you like I don't want to sound crass, but if you perform like a sexual act, like a gay sexual act, that doesn't make you gay. You're only gay if you want to. Like if you enjoy it, like, if I want to, like, just going back to the social dynamics, why do you think guys don't do that?
Don't do, sorry, which
Like commute, like, go to the, like things like, going to places together with other guys, or why do you think guys don't do that?
Well, I mean, the part about being okay to go to a singles event by themselves, I think there's part of it like, so there's a couple of things. One, it's like, I don't want my friends knowing that I'm going to a singles event.
Why not?
Some of them feel embarrassed. For the longest time too, like for example, when I was single, I didn't want to be caught like telling people that I used apps. But we've come a long way from that trend where
I feel like now probably apps is
super like it used to be taboo.
It's the main
now
thing.
It's mainstream. Like now it's like, oh, you're single and you're not on apps, you're weird. Like it's come such a long way. For I think singles events, like men are like, for the ones who they're okay with, they have a social girl, they might not tell their friends that they're doing that.
It's like a stigma, you think?
Yeah, a little bit. But there's some, because they're like, I don't want people knowing that I need to go to singles events, that I can't, do it on my own on apps or whatever it is. That's a small segment, but I think most people are, well, I work with a lot of clients that don't have a lot of, their social circle is really small. So they don't have friends to even invite, and they don't need to. And plus, for some guys, it's interesting. Girls will be like, no, I want to bring my girlfriend. I don't want to go alone. We can do this together and like go through this experience together. Guys are like, and I've heard some guys say this, why would I bring my, good friend and then we're going to be competing for the same girl? Like, I would, I have higher chances if he doesn't come along.
That's
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be true. And girls don't think like that? Like, why would I go there if my girlfriend likes the guy?
Because our girlfriends will be like, yeah, you know what? Shaq's pretty cool. What did you think of him when you went on that five minute like speed dating thing? It's like, oh, he was all right. And you're like, okay, well, and we'll be like, yeah, that's okay. Like we can both go on a date and see who likes him. We're very, very, the companionship, like it's okay. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's get into dating now. The
Sure.
interesting, the meat and stuff. I have a few questions. One of my audience, they requested. One of the things they mentioned was, when you, like, now that you mentioned app is so mainstream, when someone breaks up, before the app was like prevalent or like mainstream, you have time to like absorb the breakup. You have time
Process
to
and heal from.
process. Yeah. But now you don't. You just download an app, keep swiping right until something hits. So is that like, how does that change? First of all, is that true? And how does that change the dynamics, in your opinion, in modern dating scenario?
I definitely have met people who there's no, they just jump right into relationships, whether they jump onto the apps or just like instead of processing their pain and their hurt, they're like, I'm just going to get over somebody by just jumping straight into it. And it may work here and there, but you already know that person's going to be a rebound. And there are some people who are very honest about it, which I can respect. If you openly go into dating, whether again on apps or you meet someone in person, you're like, hey, I'm just looking for something casual. I just kind of got out of a serious relationship, so I'm just looking to have fun. Are you okay with that? Like something along the lines of that. I can respect that because you openly talked about it, and that person is able to, if they make a choice to say, yeah, that's cool with me, then it's like consent. I get it. You weren't lying to me. You weren't misleading me. And if I make a choice to say, yeah, that's okay, then that's all right, right? But if I actually work with a lot of clients who, like, I know their history is that they're trying to get over something. And again, there's no accurate, like, you get over someone in 6 months, a year, 3 months. It is very up to the individual about how long it takes to process. And plus, every relationship is different, right? Like some people are getting out of a divorce, that's different. Some people get over it fast or takes a while. It's really up to the individual. So some people who jump on the apps or start dating right away, and I talk to them, I'm like, everything you're doing, I just know that you're not over this last person, and so everything you're doing is going to backfire, and you're just going to hurt yourself and the other person. So, if I could continue to coach you, I just want you to know, like, that's what we're working on. So if you're going to ask me for advice for, like, how do I get this girl into this, and I'm like, just know that you're not even over your last one, so I can continue coaching you, but is that really what we want to do? So I think there's definitely a lot of noise out there with people's decisions and how they want to do dating, but the apps have definitely muddied the waters on your choices and options out there.
How can you get like, can you explain that a little bit?
I mean, especially during the pandemic, everyone jumped onto the apps because there was nothing else we could do. Like we couldn't go out to the club or like, go on proper dates. So everyone, including some people who weren't even single, jumped onto the apps, right? So during those 2-3 years, I mean, it was messy in terms of everyone, like all of a sudden it was like overwhelming options of people, but people who weren't even the right mindset to date. So it continued to screw people.
It's just like
over.
an activity to do, like that's it.
Like I get to talk to people, I'm bored.
Yeah.
So you have so many people. So why in Toronto or in big cities, people are like, Toronto dating sucks. These apps suck. It's because, to be honest, a good portion of the people who jumped onto the apps and have jumped on the apps during the pandemic and maybe have stayed on are people who aren't even there to date. I'm just there to talk to people.
Is that a thing, the Toronto dating sucks? Sorry to cut you off.
The Toronto dating scene?
Yeah.
What about it?
Is that, like you mentioned, some people thought like Toronto dating scene sucks. Is that a thing? Like, is that true?
People talk about that all the time.
Really?
And I offer free 15-minute consultations, just because even if you were to choose a therapist or someone, you always want to know if you have the right click and if we're going to work well together. So I always offer, for everyone watching and listening, you get a free 15-minute consultation if you need to.
But why is that? Why is that perception, Andrea? Like, why do people think Toronto dating
scene sucks?
Yeah.
Well, in a big city, there's an overwhelming option of choices.
That's good.
But it's sort of like, even in marketing, I think long ago we were like there was this commercial about like, you're walking down the aisle where shampoo and conditioner, even these days, how many shampoo and conditioners are there? Or the 1 2-in-1 and the 3-in-1 and it's like, I don't know what to choose, right? And so think about dating. Sort
of like a paradox of choice?
Yeah. Like maybe you're like, I really want someone who's 6 feet tall and do this and then that and that. And then you're like, but, what about this guy? Maybe, like, why not? Oh, I'm just going to swipe and just, so there's a lot of choices, right? And then you add on people who are like, I'm in a situationship, so I'm technically single, but I'm not taken. So technically I'm single and I can go on an app.
So this is called situationship?
Situationships. It's like you're in a relationship, but there's a situation, there's a complication. So it's a situationship.
I've been out of the game for so long. I feel old now. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No. So there's people who aren't ready to date, people who are trying to get over exes or something else traumatic in their relationships onto the apps because they're just trying to get over them and kill time. There's people who are like, I'm single, I'm not really looking, but am I allowed to swear on this?
Of course.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm looking for a good fuck, so I'm gonna be on here. There's all these people, and then there's people who are like, I want to get married and have kids, and so I'm hoping to find the love of my life on here. You got all these people, and based on a profile, like looking at their pictures, can you tell which one's gonna be the douchebag or the cheater you don't know, and so you spend all this time and energy hoping that the swipe or the match, and then continue talking, and then maybe you go on a date and you have no idea if this person's which one of these people that we're talking about is it a gem or is it the frog, right? So now imagine all that. I know you're married, so congrats, and that's a great thing because you're not dealing with this mess of having to, because that's a lot of time and energy that you're putting into hoping to find someone and going on these a million first dates to then find out, oh crap, right? Or you talk for weeks with someone and then you find out they just want to hook up.
Shit, it sounds like, because this is like, I've been married 10 years. It sounds like before, when I was single, it was actually fun to date. But now it sounds like it's
stressful.
It's not fun.
No.
It just took the fun out of it, this app.
I mean, unless you're looking for fun.
Yeah.
Maybe it's fun because you're like, Monday I have this one, Tuesday I have this one, Friday night, or maybe 3-in-1 night. Who knows, right? So if you're looking for fun and your profile is getting you matches, you're definitely having fun.
Wow. A lot to think about. Okay, so why don't you tell us, Andrea, what do you, because you obviously have both male and female clients. What are the differences? Can you tell us some common attributes that you see between single women and single men?
In terms of what I see when I'm coaching?
When you're coaching, what are some of the things, what are the common things they usually look for? What are the common problems you've encountered?
Absolutely.
And we can start from there and then we can unpack.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely admit I have definitely more male clients. And I think giving a female perspective has been very helpful for male clients. But I will say the one fundamental insight and observation I've seen between male and female clients. For males, what they have to work on and what the dating coaching services. So I do really unique services like mock date, wing women services, because
They sound like a lot of fun. And you do this for both male and female?
I do offer, but again, I just get a lot more male clients.
Okay.
And I have a hunch on why for that too. But for males, what I've noticed is what they need to work on are a lot of exterior things. So for example, it's like, oh, you just need to get a haircut, or maybe you just need to, let's just go shopping, style you up. You know, like the makeover is all external, right? It's just, let's just dress you up. Maybe you need to, you know, get a haircut. You know, like, do you remember back in the day, like City Line and all those things they do, like makeovers?
We're going back to the movie reference. Have you seen Crazy Stupid Love?
Yes, of
Are
course.
you the Ryan Gosling? Are you basically the Ryan Gosling?
Yes,
Like you
maybe the
changing
female version, right?
female version of Ryan Gosling? Yeah,
exactly. So there's a lot of them just need a little bit of that TLC in terms of their appearance or and all that. And again, back to Hitch, right? It's like how you're talking to women, right? All you need to do is just have a little more confidence. And I have so many male clients who have spent most of their life working on their career and never had girlfriends. Or back to the movie reference, 40-year-old virgin, et cetera, those kind of things. And there's a lot of people like that. And, you know, I love helping them because what I do it transforms their life, right? It's like give them confidence.
I believe that, yeah.
They all of a sudden have a bigger social circle, and then they start dating. And this is like, it's life-changing, and I love my work. But yes, for men, it's external work. It's very, and you know, learning about communication skills, social skills, that's all workable, and that's all pretty good, right? Women, on the other hand, my observation is that, and I was one of them, right? We're all in our heads a lot, right? Our brains are working 1,000,000 miles a minute. Like, you could be talking one thing, I'm already like planning 3 days out.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm answering you, but I'm planning 3 days out.
It's usually the woman who complain that you don't listen. It's the other way around now. It's the
No, but
woman
we can
that listen.
multitask, apparently. No. But for women, what I work with them is actually, because they're like, you know, again, apps don't work. Like, the men don't do this and this and that and that and this. And I'm like, okay, but a lot of that, in men and women, there is a responsibility we have to take. For example, and I'm going to use me because I don't want to reference any of my female clients, but I was guilty of, why do I keep getting cheaters or, you know, certain types of men? Why am I getting like assholes? And they're the pattern. So there's one thing, like I teach my clients, like you have to notice what your pattern is. So what is the pattern of men that you're dating, that you seem to date, that you seem to always attract? And it's true, you are attracting them, but you're allowing them into your life. So what I have to coach with women, it's their mindset and their patterns and their behaviors. Or for example, they're like, I'm looking for a male who's this. It's a lot of exterior attributes, right?
I have noticed that too.
Right? Height, they have to have
Make
this
money.
kind of job.
Yeah.
Like they want to have kids and then this and then this. And it's like, you know, like a whole page full of like attributes. And I'm like, what about if they love you and they respect you? Is that on that?
That's
like
not
a
enough.
values-based thing. It's attributes that are more exterior, social status, etc. And I'm like, that doesn't mean they're a good person for you. And there's one profound question that you can ask yourself that will trump all those other questions about like, do they make enough money? Are they good for your nervous system?
Wow. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Are they good for your nervous system? For example, many women complain about, or a lot of the conversations or when you tell your girlfriends like what's happening with your love life, they're like, I'm not sure if he's going to call me. And then he's really good. It's like love bombing. It's like he's really good to you for one night or 2 days. And then it's like he ghosts you for 5. And then you have to work on getting his attention. And then he's back for a little bit. And then he's, so your nervous system is all over the place because you're like, when it's good, but when it's bad, you're like, ugh, like what is happening, right? Or you're playing games like I have to text him and this and that, call him, he's not answering, he says he's busy, I'm not sure what he's doing, is he talking to another woman, is he cheating on me, is like, your nervous system is out of whack, right? So if your nervous system's all like, so what does it matter if he's tall, makes so much money and this and that, when he makes your nervous system crazy? So that's why I say, we're so stuck on what societal and cultural things are telling us that are important. Think of all those movies and Netflix shows about like it's important. Like who cares about your social media and all that stuff. It's like, is it good for your nervous system?
That's great. No, that's a great insight. So guys don't have a list like that, criteria. Like, why does she just have to be pretty or whatever? Like, what do you see among guys?
I think they do, but maybe perhaps a lot of my clients, not to say their standards are low, but they're like, I'm so happy if, I am able to, attract a female who likes me back for who I am. Mm-hmm. And so they're not so much like, they better have 20 items on my checklist, right?
So, it's interesting, Andrea, you mentioned that because the general stereotype, or I don't know if this is a stereotype, is that male are more superficial than women. You've heard that, right?
Yes.
But from the sound of it, what you just mentioned, it's the opposite.
So it depends on my clientele. I mean, you wouldn't come to a dating coach if you were getting dates and
no, but what you said, I have experienced that too. Like I have female friends, my wife's friends. Mm-hmm. They have this whole list of and they're still single,
right?
And they have this whole list.
That's the reason
exactly.
Why they're single.
Maybe I should give them your contact.
Yeah.
Because she has this whole list. She's like, he has to do this, and this, and I'm just sitting there. And then I asked her one time. I was just getting so frustrated, because she keeps talking about her life, and I just I don't know. And I said, okay, why would a guy like that go out with you? What do you bring in?
How does she react to that first of all?
She just what do you mean? I'm so pretty. I'm like, wait. I get it, you're pretty, but that's all you're bringing in. You have this guy with 50 criterias. He's bringing in all these things. What are you bringing to the table? And so anyway, I guess my question would be, because before, I guess that was in 70s and 80s, women didn't really have to do much.
It's definitely changed. I mean, men
so how did it change? Yeah, to talk about that.
And there's sort of history and information show, I'm sure you heard about the evolution of humans, right? Mm. Men, just the way they're built, you guys are physical and visually you do, that's actually evolution that you, survival of the fittest, you want women who are beautiful, and actually there's stats that show why you care about women with hips. It's for childbearing. For
childbearing, yeah.
So that's actually evolution. So that is why it was so profound when I learned that. I was like, oh, no wonder. So when we women say men are dogs and they only care about women who mm-hmm. How they look in their their ass and their boobs. But evolution, I'm not to say that's all.
It's not our fault.
It is a bit that why, and even for swiping, for apps, it's and I tell women if I have to do profile makeovers, make sure you have great photos. Not just because everyone should have great photos, but for men, it doesn't matter if you write a long bio. They don't even read. Your pictures better be captivating or else you're going to lose their attention. Mm. That is a fact, and it's actually based on some evolution. So there's some stats behind it, not just men are dogs, but just to have that understanding. But sorry, back to your original question.
Yeah, how did it change? How do you see things now compared to obviously you were an expert in 60s or 70s, but I'm sure you know a little bit about the changes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think so the difference between men and women, there's some flexibility in terms of okay, they need to look great, but they shouldn't be a bitch. They should be respectful and all that. So, but there's some flexibility. I don't see a lot of men going they need to have all these criteria and that's it. I won't, otherwise I won't
so sorry to cut you off. I did see men tolerating, you mentioned bitch, and I don't want to use the word, but I'll just use it because you said they're tolerating really harsh behavior from girls because they're super hot. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed
You have noticed that. Okay.
I mean, it really depends, right? Because maybe to some of them, they're wow, she's a 10 and I'm a 6. So I really scored a really good one here.
So I'm going to be tortured for the rest of my life?
I think that's up to the individual, but there's definitely men who, again, it's shiny things. You really like the shiny things and really pretty things. I'm not going to comment any further about that, but that there is that.
You can comment. This is a candid show, Andrea.
I know.
This is for more educational purpose for people, right?
No, for sure.
And you're an expert in this, so.
But for women, again, most women, and that's why when I work with female clients for dating coaching, it's a lot more of that mindset and inner work where I have to work with them on re-evaluating if the list of criteria that they have serve them, right?
Serve their inner values, you mean, or just serve them how?
Does it serve you well if you have this criteria of 20 things which are based on, are they 6 foot tall when she's 5'2"? Like, it's like, why do you need a giraffe? Like, you know, it's kind of hard to kiss them, right? It's like, but it's great. I'm like, why? So I often challenge all the criteria they have. Why do they need to be 6 foot tall when you're 5'2", for example? Like, doesn't make sense. If they make 6 figures, if they have a nice car, all that, I'm like, why do you need that? Don't you drive? Like, they start to really go, I don't know why I need that. Or they make up some other reason, like, I need to have that because that is what I want. And I'm like, that's not the reason. Just because you say you want something, that's not the reason. Like, what is the reason? Like, what are your values? And that is a big exercise I have with all my clients of like, what are your values? It's like, if you want to have kids, what's the reason? Like, that you want kids? Because a lot of times we just want kids because society and our culture told us we should have kids.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So anyways, so that list of criteria, it's like, is it serving you well? It's like, when you're saying, I'm not getting, you know, good matches and quality men and all that. I'm like, your criteria, first of all, you're looking for a unicorn. Unicorns don't exist. And there's no such thing as a perfect person. So once I have to get that through their head, then they start opening, you know, because, for example, and for example, I mean, a lot of people who have no hair, for example. And it's like, well, they need to have a full set of hair. I'm like, why? Does that mean that person's not a good guy? Does that mean he won't love you? And what if a guy has a full head of hair and he's like, awesome, he's hot. He treats you like shit. Does that mean that person's a little shorter, maybe has a little beer belly a little bit? That person has a 6-pack and he makes a lot of money, but he's a douchebag. You're telling me you'd rather go for the douchebag than the person who's going to treat you well and respect you, wants kids, has all those things, but you want to drop all that because that unicorn who doesn't exist is going to serve you better? So the reason why some women, I'm not saying all, are single is because their list of criteria that they're looking for doesn't serve them well. And are going to continue looking for this unicorn who doesn't exist. And that is why they're going to keep struggling to keep finding this unicorn who doesn't exist. Instead of maybe lowering, again, I don't want to say lower their standards. Because as soon as you say lower your standards, you're like, why would I want to lower my standards? Because we're taught, do not settle for less. How many times have we heard that? Do not settle for less. It's not about lowering your standard. It's opening up your criteria to let a few more gems in. And then try that for size. Like, you know, try dating that and then see, did that serve you better? And is that making your nervous system less whack, right?
No, that's great. Can you give us a few examples, Andrea, of values you mentioned? I know you did mention one of them was better for your nervous system, right. but yeah, maybe just some common, like a few ones.
Yeah, so like being family oriented, like we're both, it's not just about wanting kids, is that, you know, people who are really close to their family, they're family oriented. You want someone also who's family oriented. Because if you don't get along with your in-laws, for example, that would probably be a big deal. Or someone who doesn't, they're not family oriented. So whenever you have a family, they're like, why do we have to hang out with your parents or your family? Or like whenever Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all that comes. Like, so family orientation, that's one of the huge values someone has. Self-improvement, for example. People who are like I love learning new things, new languages, new things, trying new things. That could also be a value that you want to share that with someone so that when you're going through life, you want to share that. If you have that same value, there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to do together and experience that. Because if someone didn't, then you're going to be fighting a lot, right? So what else is there? Health. Being health oriented, like being active and health. Again, it's not about like we need to have 6-packs together. It's if you value being health conscious, that value could translate in the future that we're going to live a long life together and be healthy together, right? So even sometimes when we're like, I want someone who's fit, it's like, is it that you want them to fit because from an attraction physical standpoint, or because the deeper down value is that you want to live a long, healthy life together with your partner?
It's probably the latter one, right?
But we don't realize that until we really have a deep reflection. So that is a huge exercise I do with my clients who are willing to do the work. Because if you're not willing to do the work, continue on your way, because you know what I mean? Because if you're not willing to do the inner work and you're all just going to blame the outer factors, like I'm single because the men out there are all stupid and they're all like, they're not good enough for me, then I can't do anything for you because you're not willing to do the work and realize that you need to do some of that work in order to have a better chance at finding love.
So, and these values are common among both. Those are not just like explicit like to men or women. These are just kind of, because I'm guessing something like health is common for both, right? It's not just for men. And do women ever think like you know what I was telling you like before? I wanted your opinion on that. Like when women have this list, do they ever think, why would a guy with that list go out with me? Do they ever think like that?
No, because most women are like, I'm the best. Like I am, like he should be so lucky that I'm gonna date him.
Wow, how can I?
I mean, not all women, right?
How can I get that confidence? I want. I have huge, like you know, I have been working on my confidence for a while, but having that kind of confidence, like someone in that list would go out with me, would be lucky to go out with me.
Sorry,
but
I mean, I'm not saying all women. There are definitely a bunch of women who I know they have great qualities, and they're unsure, but like everyone has a bit of like, you know, self-esteem, self-confidence. We're all on different levels. Yeah. There are some people who are like, they don't believe. So, and again, the other side of the coin of a lot of the women, it's the self-worth being like, that is the belief, and that's the thing that I have to really work with them on. Because if they don't believe that they can attract such great person, or that they are not worth a good person, that's a lot of inner work that we also have to do. Because if they don't believe they're going to attract a person, or like, why would anyone date someone like me? Mm-hmm. When I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean like you? Like, what are your bad qualities? And they're like, you know, their self-esteem and confidence are so low, and that also isn't going to work too. So you have to like boost that. Now, I will say a lot of this, if it goes really deep, because it all comes from your trauma, to be honest. The struggles that we have internally, it comes from our family upbringing and what, I'm not sure if you're familiar with attachment styles.
Of course. No, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the secure type, they don't really have issues. It's if you're anxious or avoidant. So, and again, if it goes too deep, then I'm definitely not a psychotherapist. So I always advise, if it's really sort of deep trauma that we're dealing with, I would advise on psychotherapists. I even have like referrals for them, because I want to make sure, like, I'm a dating coach, I'm not a relationship coach, and I'm not a therapist. So if it's really deep, I'm not going to pretend that I know how to help them in a very deep. I can try and do what I can from my level, but anything deeper, I'm like, this is something that a therapist would be very like good for you to work on and with.
Wow. But even then, Andrea, like there's a lot of respect for what you're doing, because it seems like you've been helping out a lot of people. I mean, I'm guessing even if they're not successful in dating, after sessions with you, they're just like a better person in general.
They're definitely more confident, for one.
Yeah.
But two is that there's clarity on what they're looking for and what they want. And for some people, it's like having that mirror reflection all of a sudden, where it's like, this is who you really are and what you're really looking for. And you now have that clarity and direction on where to go. And you're not just like, is it because like I'm not good enough? Is it because everyone sucks? It's like you now have a clear understanding. And for some people, it's like taking off that mask for them, where it's like for some people, it's like, yes, you are not confident. You are not going to get, you're not going to find love if you don't get over X, Y, Z. Or for some people, are like, you're actually an asshole. I hope you know that. Or like, you are looking for the wrong thing right now, right? Or the whole thing, like, you're not over
Have
your
you
ex.
ever said that to a client? You're an asshole.
Not exactly
Not in those words? Okay.
I find it a little bit better. It depends on how their attitude is during the session,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like course correction I have to do, right? But when they do come to me and they're willing to like work with me, they're very like at that point where they're reaching out to me, they're usually at a point where they're like,
I need help.
I need help. A lot of things aren't working, and I just don't want to keep going 2, 3, 4, 5 years like aimlessly going about dating when I could just work with a professional.
Yeah, of course. So are you able to, without dropping any name, give a...
What's this next question?
No, like I was going to say, can you give us like an example like of a success story maybe? It's also like, for your audience as well. Like,
absolutely.
Obviously you don't have to drop any name. Mr. X, let's do Mr. X and Mrs. Y. Like,
well, I definitely have a lot of the success stories in terms of just like more of those physical transformations, where my most popular sort of package is the dating profile makeover, a styling session, and then the photo shoot. So basically come to me. Usually it's like, I'm not getting any matches and I don't know what's wrong, and I probably have a shitty profile. So that sort of 3 sort of service package is basically, okay, send me the screenshots, I'll take a look. And so a lot of them, usually it is terrible photos, right? Like they don't know how to dress, or maybe there's like really bad selfie, you know what I mean? Like just really bad photos.
I've had, as a professional photographer, I get clients left, right, and center. I need dating, and most of them are guys. Because I will. Girls are just like, and they get like 50
And again,
hits.
girls, it's almost like they don't even need to do much and they'll still get matches.
They would get 50 matches.
Men will be like, you know, and some people will have decent. So there's two things of why some people aren't getting matches, but for the most part, it's their profile sucks, like really bad photos or no photos, and pretty bad bio. Like they're not standing out. It's like for women, we have options, so you need to be one of those good options. You need to be noticed for us to even like swipe on you, right? So I definitely help them. So some of them, it's like, I love it. So I do have a lot of software developers and a lot of people who are just, they don't pay attention to
software developers.
Yes.
Are they all Indians?
No.
Okay.
There are a lot of them. No.
It's like, you know, these people are putting a bad name on it.
But no, but software developers, and a lot of them is because they can wear t-shirts to work and they don't have to dress up. And I love it because for one client I went to, because when I do photo shoots, sometimes we do it at their place, right? And I was like, show me your closet. Like, because we got to pick out the outfits for the photo shoot. And I'm like, t-shirt. I'm like, do you have a blazer or something with a collared shirt? Like, you know, and it was like, no. And I'm like, why do you have all these? And some of them are like, you know, they're pilling, right?
Yeah.
Like and I'm like, how long have you had this shirt for? And I like to make a joke because you like software developers. It's the shirts the graphic tees that they got for free at a conference, right? And they have so many of them. And I'm like, please tell me you don't wear this on a date if you do get a date. They're like, why not? And I'm like, okay, this is why you need my help. Can I throw this away? They're like, no. And I'm like, okay.
Attachment issues.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, there's like nostalgia from whatever conference. I'm like, fine, but wear this at home for your home. Sure, if you want to work out in it, that's fine, but never to a date. Let's like get you shopping. And there's some people like, oh, I kept it because I still fit it. Just because you fit doesn't mean it still serves you right now, right? So
it just looks ugly. You know, get rid of it.
Like if you're in your 30s or 40s and you're wearing something that from high school, questionable. Yeah. Right. Like even if it fits, it has some of them have holes. And I'm like, why?
My wife is even against me wearing hoodie. She's like, if you're over 30, you shouldn't be wearing hoodies outside.
Outside where? Like if you're going grocery shopping to get gas,
yeah,
like
but
that's
like
fine.
no, but like if you're going for a dinner or something, like you shouldn't be wearing hoodies. Or like outside with your boys, you shouldn't be wearing hoodies after you're 35.
No, I mean it depends what hoodie. Like I have to see if it's like that athleisure looking really.
It's like a Louis Vuitton hoodie. You can do it, like, but it's not.
It depends. But you know, if your wife says so, you listen to your wife.
But so have you? So yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I was gonna have a follow-up question. Yeah. Okay, so you go and change the wardrobe
and then the photo shoot. So I know you're a photographer, so you know, don't.
No. But I'm not like, you know.
I will say I do have a lot of clients also. They're like, I paid a lot of money for a professional photographer and it didn't do well. And I was like, let me take a look at it. And I'm never gonna knock, because I work with a lot of photographers too for my events, right? But I say, okay. But I will say when they hire me, I'm like, and just to be clear, I'm not a professional photographer per se.
But you don't really need to be a professional to take good photos.
Exactly. Like, and I don't even use those big, DSLR cameras. I use cell phone, because cell phone technology has come a long way. Yeah. But it's not about your device. It's the person behind it and how I'm directing them. So I direct them on how to pose. And what I do, it's different from a regular photographer. And again, no jab at you. It's just as a dating profile photographer, I work with a client. So first things first is get all their screenshots, because I need to know what the benchmark of what are we working with? What kind of photos had you, or even the professional shots, what did you have before? And I go, like a lot of times, like you're not even smiling. Like no girl's going to want to date you because you look like an asshole, like because you're like, right? It's like, where are your teeth? Like, smile.
Like the typical, like I did the typical, like, you know, the hand things.
Or the photographer made them, or whatever. It looks like are you doing a modeling shoot? Are you a model? No, you're a software developer. Let's make you look like a normal human, but one that is laughing, smiling, and living life. So I work with them. For example, if they do play board games, I will set up a board game, like, let's do the Settlers of Catan game or Exploding Kittens, whatever it is, put it on the thing, have some beer cans as if you just had a game night, and I'll shoot it from an angle that looks like you're cheersing someone or you're about to roll the die. Make it look like this is not a photo shoot, but this is your everyday life, and you look like a fun person. Hey, if you walk a dog, if you go hiking, let's get those photos. You ride a bike, let's go. And that is a very different take. And a lot of photographers don't know how to pose you, right? I'm like,
they just do like a generic portrait.
Because I've done some modeling or some like shoots, and I'm a dancer, so I've been on a lot of sets, I've been on TV, and I hate it when someone's like a professional and like right now, Shaq, if my hair was out of line and you didn't tell me, I'm like, my whole interview, my hair was out. Like, what the hell? I don't like it, right? So
is their hair okay? Like, what are you saying?
Audience, is my hair okay? No, but seriously, like, it'll be the whole entire time, women have the extra hair there. So I go and I look at, like, if you're my subject, I'm like, your beard's got a little thing, you know, the crinkles in your shirt, you have a cell phone in your pocket, so you look like you have something bulging out of your you know, so let's get off that, like, or, you know, there's a coffee cup right there and I don't want that, like, that's garbage, let's get rid of it. So I really take the time to make sure, one, it doesn't look like an actual photographer professional took it, it's more natural, but in a way that showcases you genuinely, your personality showing out. And some of them are like, I have nothing interesting. I'm like, yes you do, let's go look. And I have to dig and probe. A normal photographer is not going to get that. So that is why my photos and that process is eye-opening for them, period. Because a lot of them, they're like, I don't know, I'm just so boring, I don't have anything interesting, like, who's gonna want to, like, see me do this? And I'm like, yes, people will, and we have to create a story. And a lot of that I have to probe and dig to bring out their high qualities. And actually that's how I came up with one service called Dating Auction. Is actually a take and an alternative to matchmaking. So I actually create a video of their hidden gems, and I kind of sell it. Like, if you want to match with Shaq, like, fill in this match form.
So what do you mean they're hidden gems? Like, you know,
so for example,
before you go ahead, I just want to say, Andrea, this is the right approach, what you're doing. You know, for a photographer, everyone talks about bringing out the genuine you. And it seems like you're already doing that. Have you had training on this, or are you just kind of like intuitive person? And
I think I was intuitive. Like, again, I've been single, like, on and off for like 10 years. My spiel that I tell people is like, I've been on 1,000 dates, so I know all the good and bad, and met so many people that I'm using this sort of like superpower, this data, to help other people navigate the, you know, challenging world of dating. But sorry, what was your?
No, I was just complimenting your approach for photography. So that's the right approach, and I, like, you know, that, and whenever I get a client, not for dating profile but portraits, I try to use that approach. So kudos to you for that. But thanks. Yeah, so going back to that,
the dating auction.
Yeah, the dating auction. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's my newest service. So I constantly, in my business, you know, as a business owner, you're always like, how do I innovate? How do I continue to, you know, get more clients or just serve? Because my business. So my whole, like, mission is, like, transforming the way singles meet and connect. And I really do believe it. And I'm always constantly innovating, whether it's my dating events to my coaching services. That's how I came up with, like, mock dates, wing women. It's like, what do singles actually need? Like, what are they struggling with? And so many people come to me like, Andrea, do you do matchmaking? And I'm like, I do not want to do matchmaking. I can make a lot of money probably from it, but I don't do matchmaking because matchmakers are like recruiters, right? Like, they literally, like.
Is it like that show on Netflix, Seemanti or whatever her name is? Do you watch that Matchmaking India or whatever it's called? Indian
matchmaking? Yes, yeah. I have watched a few.
So what's the difference between matchmaking and what you do?
So matchmakers literally, like, if they're like, okay, you're like Shaq, you're looking for XYZ, like the unicorn. I'm like, okay, let me go find that person for you, and then maybe set you on some dates. It's kind
of like a real estate agent.
Yes, or like a recruiter. You know, HR recruiter.
A recruiter, yeah.
They're like, okay, you need this kind of person who has these qualities. I'm gonna go find you that person.
Closest to that quality.
Yeah, I've heard these days matchmakers actually literally go on LinkedIn and they try to, like.
Really?
Yeah. And so that's part of the reason why I'm like, I don't want to be a matchmaker. That is a lot of work, and also but also because right from the get-go, what I don't agree with is if that person comes to me and says, I want this unicorn, like, you know, the list of 20 things that I'm like, this person doesn't exist. Right at the get-go, I don't even agree with that. And then I would almost be like, let's do some coaching to, like, reassess if that is the person you should find, and then go look for that person, right? So that's why I'm like, that's why I don't really touch matchmaking. So that's why on my take, instead of finding, because if I don't already agree why you should even find this person, how can I help you? Because it's sort of like, I don't want to help you find this person that doesn't exist and then basically not make money to try to find you this person, or match you with this person who's clearly probably going to be a douchebag profile and try to set you up with them. That is, like, against what I want to do. So I came up with Dating Auction, which is basically, so let's say the person, they're like not getting good matches, whatever it is. So I could transform them, say what we were doing about the photo shoot and all that. And I am doing that. However, what I am doing is then putting that into a video post, like a reel, to then sell them. It's almost like it is like an auction. Do you remember that when you auction, like, this item is like this and it's this and that?
They do have auction for datings too. Like, you know, oh, you can go out on a date with this supermodel. This is like a, have you?
Yeah,
you
but it's
heard
usually
that, right?
for a fundraiser.
For fundraising, right? Yeah.
Like,
but
go
this
on
is like
this
a real
date
life.
with this bartender.
Yeah.
It's usually like restaurants, bars have done it, but it's not for real.
Okay.
What I'm doing with the dating auction is to ensure, like, so again, I interview
Who's doing the video?
I have a company that I use because I suck at doing reels. But what I do again is take all their quality. So I'll give you an example. You can actually, if you follow me on Instagram, which is Toronto Dating Hub, there's actually one example, and it was so great. For example, he's like, "Who's gonna like that?" Like, okay.
What was in the video?
So he talks about like he runs marathons. He's really close with his family. Like, there's gems. So there's one nugget, for example, and I'm a marketer, so I take something that sounds not so good and we change it up. So that nugget, for example, is that he said, I haven't traveled anywhere. Like, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? Because sometimes it's very subjective, right? They're like, I've been to like the States, and I'm like where? And they're like, New York. I'm like, okay, that counts. He's like, anywhere else? He's like, no. I was like, okay. And I'm like, he works for the government, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I was like, and I'm like, okay. So I know government has really great benefits. I'm like, how many weeks of vacation do you have? He's like, 6 weeks. And I'm like, great. So, part of my dating auction is to be real with who they are and their hidden gems. So the hidden gem from that insight he gave me, which is like, he's like, what girl's gonna like me? I haven't traveled. I haven't really gone anywhere, right? And he's kind of like nerdy. He like loves Harry Potter. I'm like, first of all, there's many women who like Harry Potter. We are going to actually use that. But the thing about the insight with the whole vacation and not traveling, it is true. Like, I am a world traveler. If I met someone who doesn't really travel at all, I'll be like, what's wrong with you? Are you living under a rock? However, but you can spin it. And so how I got him to spin it in the video was that if you like to travel, because he wants to travel more, he's like, we are never going to fight about where to go. Because he's not been anywhere. Right? So many, like right now, like with like my boyfriend, he's like, where shall we travel? We're trying to plan vacation. He's like, let's go here, 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 here. And I'm like, I've literally been everywhere. Like, I've been to all those things. He's like, crap, I haven't. Right? So for him, the nugget would be,
that's great.
The girl can choose anywhere, and he'll be like, yep, let's go, because I've never been there.
It is a strength.
And they can both, like, they will enjoy that because they've both have it. And he has 6 weeks of vacation. He's like, I also have, actually 8 weeks because I've carried over some because government's really great like that. He's like, you got 8 weeks. That means that woman can travel with him anywhere. I got to get a government job. Right?
8 weeks of vacation.
Because it's unheard of when you can go on vacation for 2-3 weeks. He's like, let's go. And I'm like, this is why we built that, right? So if you don't have someone like me on your side who's like getting you would not even tell someone that. Yeah. Or you would think it's a miss. And he was like, no, I don't want to tell anyone that I don't travel or haven't been anywhere. I'm like, no, we're going to bring it up in a way. So I had so many comments like, you need to watch that video because there's so many women who, like, again, I didn't get as many matches because, again, the women, I got to work with them on, like, their mindset. But they're like, he seems like such an awesome guy. I wish him luck because he seems like such a nice guy. And that was really great. But I'm not going to, and they're like, but I don't want to fill in the match for him. I want this. But they did enough to, like, message me that he's great, which means I know that video is working for him. And whether or not that person got any matches from like successful dates, it's that he's clear on who he is now and his direction and what are his qualities, that when he goes out on dates now, he's fully confident what he can say, what he should say, and know what is going to attract a woman, because that video and that process has helped him discover all that.
Wow. This is great. Anybody who's watching and needs some help with dating, definitely rewind this part and see this, how Andrea is helping everyone. So this is great. One of the other question I got, Andrea, from my audience was, this is actually from a girl. She mentioned that she prefers, she's like, obviously there's Tinder. She's using Tinder. She's single, but she said that she prefers like face-to-face when men hit on her. Is that do you see that is that common, or like is that kind of just her, or like
does she mean she
said like when I go to a bar, in-person interaction, yeah, she's like even like the first interaction, she's like, it's way better for me to, she's like, I just don't like, it's just men are sleazy and all of that, like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, my hunch is that it's probably because, like I said, remember the pool of people on the dating apps, there's a big number of people on there that shouldn't be on there, or they're muddying the waters for people who are actually trying to find love and a meaningful relationship. So it's like that saying, like, how many frogs do you have to kiss before it turns into a prince? So there's a lot of and again, a lot of people, they need my help, as in they're bad at texting or they've got really bad texting etiquette. So I can imagine that's why a lot of women are like, I don't like what's happening on the apps. Or also like the cheesy lines. I'm like, wow, I haven't heard that one before. The pickup lines.
I actually have, sorry to cut you off, Andrea. I have one example of the texting you mentioned. This is when I was working, before I became a photographer. I was working at a financial company, and my colleague, he's a friend actually, he was next to me and he was single and he's just texting this girl. And I'm like, oh, like, you're going to go out tonight? He's like, yeah, but there's 3 other girls I'm texting and I have to find something funny to tell them. I'm like, why don't you just tell them the same joke? He's like, no, it's not going to work because we're talking about different things. So I have to find 3 different funny things. It's so stressful.
Oh my God.
And then looking at him, I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm not single now. Like, this is very stressful. You got to find 3 different things to tell 3 different girls and they all have to be funny. And he was scared. He's like, if I don't tell them something, they're going to start talking to someone else. Like, it just seemed like I'm gonna get a heart attack. Like if I'm gonna do that. Like,
I mean, I think definitely be authentic and be genuine. Like, I mean, one of the advices saying to guys, like, don't sound robotic as in it's an interview, because a lot of people get into the whole, so what do you do for work? And I do this. What are you doing today? Like,
yeah, it turns into an interview. I know. I've seen that too.
It's also just boring.
Yeah,
like, what the hell, right?
Here's my resume. Let's talk about something else.
Right.
Read it somewhere. Like read it in your spare time.
But I hate the whole, what are you doing today? Oh, cool. I'm doing this today. I'm like, that's small talk. Like if you're doing small talk, like.
So what is a good, like, what would be a good topic to talk about on a date?
I mean, it's so funny because this is something. It's
you
stuff I have to
about?
teach about, like, what kind of topics, but just be genuine, right? Like, find a nugget. People think they have to fill the air, or they think if I ask questions, it shows interest. The thing is, if you keep shooting questions, like, give me a topic, anything that comes to mind.
Food,
great. Like, like, what's your favorite taco spot? Let's just role play. Go.
Yeah, Cabana.
Oh, great. So, like, what do you like to order on that menu?
Fish tacos.
Cool. Like, and do you like anything else?
Tequila.
Awesome. So, like, but do you see what I'm doing? I'm
Yeah,
just shooting you questions.
yeah.
But they're thinking, because they thought, like, they've heard that when you ask questions, it shows interest. That is a fact. But you can't shoot them question after question after question. And it's like, that's what I mean by the interview. I'm like, okay, like, how many more questions are you throwing me? So what instead, for example, let's go back to that. What's your favorite taco spot?
Cabana.
Oh my God, I should tell you, the last time I went there, I got so drunk. Like I told a story. Yeah. I didn't shoot you a question, or just, I just vibe off you, right? Like, so sometimes just share your own thing. Or it could be like, a lot of my clients, they're like, but I don't know Playa Cabana. Like, what am I supposed to say? I don't even go for tacos. I don't even know what's good. I'm not an expert. I don't know. And they start like, right? And so I'm like, just relax. Because you can just, yes, ask some questions, but then be interested in their response. The thing is, they get so caught up in like, what do I say next? What do I say next? Remember, active listening. They're not they're like, what do I say next? Back to like what your friend said, I have to think of something good. And so their mind is like, I need to think of that. And they're not really paying attention. They're not present in the conversation.
Yeah. So
a lot of times we just want to get lost in each other's eyes and have a great conversation. So sometimes it's like, tell me about that time. Like what is your favorite moment in the last like 2 months? It's just vague, but it's like, and then from there kind of draw from it. And it's like, because most of the time they're like, what about you? So you have to be ready for it. And that's another thing that they're like caught off guard. They're like, oh, I have to answer that too. I'm like, duh. Like if you're going to ask a question like that, they're going to expect for you to answer it back. So a lot of the clients, I have to be like, you have to practice conversations and you have to have it buttoned down. Because most of them who are not good at conversation, they're like,
I mean, these conversation skills, you're absolutely right. I agree with you.
It's
but
practice.
It just sounds like it does not even like dating. It's just like general conversation. Like that's why I was laughing. I was like, really? Like you like, but those are, it's not explicit to dating, right?
But see,
like,
but in our, let's say day to day with our colleagues to your friends, you can get away with it because they're already your friends. They're not like, this is a boring, like, happy hour thing with my friend. And you're much more comfortable. But in a dating world, and especially with the opposite sex, there's a lot of nerves going. And the person won't give 2 fucks if you're actually boring. They're like, all right, I have a plan to get out of here.
Start like Tinder, like swipe
my
while you're
alarm
on
goes
a
off.
date.
Oh, my friend needs me. I'm out of here,
Yeah.
right? So it's like there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And they won't have as. Oh, sorry. One hunch I have, and I've talked to many women about it. Sometimes they get like, oh my God, she nodded and she smiled and she laughed. She's into me. I'm like, no. The thing is, us women are really nice people and we'll just continue the whole conversation with you and nod our heads and like laugh. But we're not interested. We just don't want to be rude and walk away for the most part. But a lot of men, again, who aren't good with social cues have no clue that no, just because we talked to you and laughed like politely, we're not into you.
So, okay, we had so many. This is a really interesting conversation, Andrea. What's the, would you be able to share, again, without sharing any names, dropping any names, can you share some scary stories?
Scary stories.
Or just stories that are not like happy or successful, like, something that happened that's just kind of awkward, or did that ever happen to you, or like most of your clients have been successful and everything?
That's a really interesting question. That's scary. I mean,
not scary. That's not the term I wanted to use. Just something that's not, I guess,
not happy.
Not happy, but like something very awkward. A funny story, maybe, like, it necessarily wasn't the way that they wanted to go.
I mean, it's more of like them telling me stories of like how poorly a date went. Again, before my services, of course. Yeah. But how it went, or just some like really awkward things, right? Like, I think one miss, it came from, they met from my event, actually.
Okay.
And the male is someone I work a lot with, and like, he doesn't normally get a lot of matches or dates in the beginning. And so I was like, oh my God, you're on a second or third date with this person? And I'm like, that's awesome. And then it fell apart because I think she was like 2 years older. She was looking for something more serious, and he's early 30s. He wasn't ready for that, and he doesn't have a lot of dating experience. So that fell apart. But also I found out like he left her on red for 2 days. Oh. Yes. So.
Is that a big no-no?
Yes. Because I was like.
But what if you're like driving and you see it and then you just forget after?
Well, that person doesn't even drive, so you can't even.
Yeah,
no, but leaving someone on red, I'm not talking about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. I'm talking about 2 days. Yeah. So imagine leaving your wife on red for 2 days.
Oh yeah, I'm not allowed in the house.
Exactly, right? I mean, now we're joking because you're in a marriage, but if you can remember when you were just dating before she became your wife, do you think she would? Yeah,
it just shows that you're not interested, I guess, correct. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a general statement. Like, whether that was 10 years ago or now, that's a pretty a sentiment that stays through times of, if you take too long to respond, especially when you've gone on a few dates, you've even shared kisses, and you're still taking. And I even asked him, why did you take so long? Like, because I was waiting for, like, give me a good reason. Like, this person, X name, like John Smith, like, give me a good reason, and I'll vouch for you. And he was like, I didn't know what to say. And I was like, really? That's your reason? He's like, and I just like, I didn't know what to say, and I was nervous. And then next thing you know, it's already been a day, and then that made it even more awkward for me to say. Like, it just snowballed, and I'm like, you should still say something, right? And so what was sad is that it fell apart because he left her on red. And I actually talked to this person, so I know it wasn't me guessing. It was for that reason, but also because he wasn't going to be ready for, like, settling down in a couple of years, which again is a very big thing for women. But the main thing, she could have maybe continued giving it a chance and getting to know him more, but the whole leaving her on red was a big deal, because she was like, and it wasn't one time, according to her, it was like a few times. And to her, it means like, you're not that interested if you're leaving me on red and not really responding to me.
Do you think that happened because he's not inherently not interested in a relationship, and he was just manifesting it through not replying to her text?
He honestly, because he's one of the people I coach, so he's not that experienced with dating, but really the whole not knowing what to say, and he was like, I'd rather say something good than say something terrible. So, but then it took him so long to think of something that it snowballed into this, like, 2 days? You couldn't think of something? Like, say something, right? It's like, do you have a pulse? Like, are you there, right? Because on the other end, for a woman, especially, remember I said our minds are going a million miles? Yeah. We could have already thought, like, not that did you die, but it's like, are you on to, like, the next girl? Are you so busy you're not answering me? Like, that's really rude. Like, we've made 1,000,001 excuses, like, bad reasons for you to do what you did, when really he just didn't know what to say, right? So, and we're not as forgiving, most women. We're like, what happened? Like, that excuse isn't good enough, right?
It's for both, for dating and non-dating life as well. It's a general personality thing.
Right.
We didn't end up. We know we talked about a little bit about that auction, Andrea. So can you just finish it up? Like, so what do you do? You make a video and then you show it to your, like, female clients, or?
So because my whole community of singles, it's about 8 or 10K singles in Toronto or GTA. So that's a pretty big platform.
Sorry, your client, 10,000 clients?
So in terms of all my social media channels put together, it's probably about 10K now, maybe more. And so imagine if I could just blast that video into my community. It's a different avenue than just hoping for the best on a dating app. And because dating apps, it's only if people swipe on in the algorithms. Whereas mine is like, there's an eager community if I just blast that.
And you're also screening them personally as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I only choose certain clients to do this auction with. And again, I work with them, interview them to bring out the best qualities. And because I know what would sell, and I'm also a marketer. And so I'll put that video, and then I create a match form for basically if you do want to match with this person, that he also gets a choice too, right? It's like I'll take all these sort of who wants to match with you, and then whatever you want to do with it is up to you. So it was just something I was testing. I didn't know if it was going to take off or not. So, I'm still sort of testing it. And
but it sounds very interesting. I would think that's better than just looking at pictures and swiping right, left.
Right. But also, like I said, in that process, someone really, figures out what are their good qualities, because we're so fixated. And how I sold if you watched, I made a reel about explaining the service, because it's kind of like never been done before. Like you said, there's dating auctions based on raising money for, and here's a date with this person. But this is about, it's just like an alternative to matchmaking and the apps. But I was just testing it out and just seeing would this work, but just also, for them to figure out now this is how I would go about selling myself. Like when I go on a date, or if I were to remake my profile, this is how I would talk about myself, and know and be more confident, because I basically approved the thing, as in these are the things women will want. Like I had that insight, so they can be confident about, okay, so, I will talk about that. I, have a lot of vacation time, or that I want to travel and I want to meet someone who's going to do, X, Y, Z, and not focusing on their height. Like in the video, you won't hear their age, where they live, their height, all that stuff. The stuff that are again, back to the attributes that really shouldn't matter. Because some people are like, well, how old is that person? I'm like, why don't you, if you are interested, fill in the match form and then connect with him? Because I don't want, let's just say he's 32 and you're someone who's 36, right? If you were just so fixated that he's 4 years younger than you, then
nothing's gonna work. Even if that person is a great match for you, right?
So because that is actually what happens at my my speed dating events, my singles events, right? Like when I just see you and we get in a really great conversation, I don't know where you live, what you do for work, unless I ask you, and you're I can see your height, but other than that, I don't know how old you are. So if you technically are 5 years younger than me, but we had a great conversation, I'm already kind of hooked on and interested, and not fixated on oh, you're 5 years younger, goodbye. Right? So,
even though if it could be a great match, you shouldn't.
Correct. And so that's really why I love those in-person interactions too, kind of what, back to that old question about your friend wanting like in-person interactions. It's because people are way more natural, and there is a lot of people who just suck on text and on the apps, but in person they have personality. They do a lot better when they're in person and they can actually talk and show their personality. So that is why I do singles events.
Andrea, I have heard, we need to talk about your singles event a little bit, but I've heard the flip side too. A lot of my guy friends told me that I suck at talking to women at a bar. Right. I prefer texting because it's daunting to go to talk to a woman.
But that is why I advise, if people do better in person, but come to a singles event where 100% people are singles,
looking to interact with other people.
Because when you say going to a bar, well, I'm obviously you might not be good at picking up someone at a bar, because you actually have to okay, what's my pickup line? What's my angle? And what if she's not even single? And then it's very scary. So at a singles event, 100% of the people are single, and
they're looking to interact with other people.
And I create icebreakers and a seating arrangement that actually helps you. So if you're introverted and you don't know how to pick someone up, with speed dating, I force everyone to have to talk to each other. And I've seen from that, some people who, let's say I'm I don't know if that person will get a match just based on what I'm seeing, but I'm oh, they were actually really good talking, or maybe they showed another side of them that those women really resonated with, and I see them get matches, right?
Wow.
So in one night, for example, selling my singles events, think about for men, how many times you'd have to swipe, and how many months or days you have to do before you maybe get 20 females on a date with you. Whereas in my one event, if I have 60, 30 males, 30 females, in one night, you're talking 30 great quality females in one night. Whereas to get 30 women on an app, some people might take 6 months before they get 30 quality women talking to them. So I highly, highly encourage people to try. And it doesn't have to be my singles events. There's a lot of competitors out there, but.
Oh, are there a lot of competitors? Because I thought your services were very unique.
My services are definitely unique, but I'm definitely not the only one. But I will say I'm the only one so far. I've seen, hey, I'm challenging you out there. Go try doing jet ski speed dating. It's very hard but I'm an event planner by trade, whereas a lot of people were more, they went into the dating industry, but they're not event planners. So I'm an event planner by trade going into this. So that's why I'm very good at logistics and working with local businesses. But yeah, I just did really, I'm planning a boat party. I'm going to do e-scooters. I'm doing puppy yoga. none of my events, no 2 months are the same because
What's puppy yoga?
Yoga with puppies.
What
we
do
bring the puppies.
Yeah, and what do the puppies do while you're doing yoga?
They shit on you. No, I'm just kidding. They might shit, but no, they run around. They're so cute, and you get cuddles with them, and then we put them on your head.
What if they fight? What if the puppies fight?
They do. But we have puppy wranglers to kind of like help them. And it's so cute.
Can you talk about a few of the icebreakers techniques that you use?
Yeah, so there is, so a lot of my business, even with all these activity partners, I very much, because I am an entrepreneur as well, I really do support local businesses. So whether it's a local bar, local venue, all that. But some of the icebreakers, so there's a card game called Convo and Chill, also made by a fellow Torontonian. And there's 99 questions like in that game, and it's basically like, for example, what's your love language, or what's worse, physical cheating or emotional cheating, or what can men do better? Like men can do blank better, women can do. So there's these cards that I put on the tables at wherever I am, the bar, whatever setting. And so when people are speed dating, if they're like, again, helping my fellow people out who like have no idea what to say, they can just pick up the card and be like, okay, so what can women do better? And then it gets spicy. It's like, oh, what can women do better? Or like, but then they're like, okay, there's a question for what can men do better? And then you kind of vibe off that. And then you might have to explain yourself, because I believe when you have those kind of controversial questions, but it's more thought-provoking and you have more meaningful, deep conversations.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? Or for example, let's throw that. Like, what is worse, emotional cheating or physical cheating? No, I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I don't know the right person for this. So you're asking from a singles point of view or a married point of view?
Doesn't matter.
Probably for me as a guy, physical cheating.
Right. And there's no right or wrong answer. And so I might be like, I totally agree. Oh my God, I can't imagine someone like screwing my partner. Like it's just, that's so wrong. Like, and then you would vibe on each other. I'm like, oh my God, me too. Or like whatever. Like, so that card game in itself, very simple. It's just questions on a card, but
that sounds like a great icebreaker.
Really,
yeah.
Exactly. Versus, again, remember back to those interview boring questions, small talk.
What do you do
for work? What are you doing here? Oh, I can't believe someone like you is single. Like you just stop, right? Like just pick up those questions, and it saves a lot of, and it's like in 5 minutes, like if the speed dating rounds are 5 minutes and we talked about something like that, I already learned much more about your character. And if we would vibe in that one question or two questions that we had, then if I just let our own natural questions, and if you sucked at conversation, you would have had a lower chance at maybe me picking you as one of my matches, right?
That's great. No, this is great. What's the game called? Convo and Chill?
It's Convo and Chill, but there's many like different games that spin off of that. Sometimes I offer certain questions, but I also, like, for example, when I say, okay, we're about to do a speed dating rounds, I make it really funny. I MC all my events, but I also say, here are a few things you cannot do. You cannot talk about work. And I sometimes make a joke, you can't talk about traveling.
Why not?
It was just something like, I know everyone says, like, I'm like,
I love traveling. I hate that. I'm like, everyone loves traveling.
Exactly. And especially during the pandemic when we didn't go anywhere. So we all complain about the same thing. Or I say, don't talk about the weather. And they're like, because I was trying to basically have them avoid the small talk.
Absolutely. Also food. It's like, I love food. Who doesn't love food?
Yeah.
Like,
that one, I think I let happen. And then I say,
no,
and then I make it fun. I mean, okay, I'll use it next time. And then I make it fun. I'm like, if you catch that person say, they owe you a drink. And then they have to buy them a drink, right?
Yeah.
But just so it's fun.
No, it's fun, yeah.
It's things like that.
Absolutely.
Or I also do human bingo. So tonight I have a mixer at a club. It's a pre-mixer before the club opens up, so I have a whole space. And I do human bingo.
Bingo, what is that?
You remember bingo?
Yeah.
But instead of being like beat 56 or whatever, it's I make a custom card and they can scan it with a QR code. So they don't need, there's no paper. I don't like paper printing and all that stuff. They scan it I have a QR code right at the front when they check in. Then they can basically play the game. And I say, whoever calls bingo, like gets 2 rows, any 2 rows, they get a free drink on me. So I make, there's a prize. But also then now they're like, because again, most people are like, what do I do? Like there's other people in the room. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, human bingo. So this human bingo card, I make custom questions. Like find someone to buy you a drink. Or I'm like, who else is wearing black? Or I'm like, find someone who wasn't born in Canada. Find someone who knows 3 languages. Find someone who's a dog owner. And so in order for you to know that, you have to talk to them, right? So, and you can get conversation. And just, for example, if I had a dog and I'm like, Shaq, are you like a dog owner too? Not only will I get a square, but I'm like, I have something in common with you, right? And we might vibe off that. And so, yes, they're focused on this game and maybe trying to win the prize, but what happens after that, 20 minutes of playing this game, they've now encountered how many people.
These are great, Andrea. Like, how did you like? These are very creative ways to like actually not just break the ice, just to have deep conversations. How did you come up with this?
Some of it is like doing some research. And especially during the pandemic, how many articles were about how to make your meetings more like less boring, or like how do you like make your Zoom calls like just more interactive? How do you have team events online that make like, there was a lot of definitely really good articles like that. But it's also for me, because I'm an event planner, right? I also go to a lot of events, and so sometimes I see like, what are people doing? And some of it's like creativity. So it's I'm definitely not the first to have done human bingo, but what then becomes an Andrea, kind of flair is the kind of questions I put on the human bingo card that would make it very interactive for a dating scenario. For example, because there's many templates out there. One of the squares I put is find someone with a special talent. Now I keep it very vague. So for example, if I go up to you and say, do you have a special talent? Now, a lot of people are like, no, I don't, but some people might. So that special talent might be, I play the guitar, or I sing, or whatever it is, right? And then guess what happens? I actually take up the answers. When someone calls bingo, I go like, because I don't want cheaters, I'm gonna take up the answer. And why do I do that? Well, one is I don't want cheaters. And I have a lot of fun. I'm very funny at MC, because as soon as I was like, so let's say they're like, okay, Shaq, it says here you have a special talent. And then I go, where are you, Shaq, right? So what happens is, instead of just focusing on this person who wanted, because it's so boring if you're like, great, you got bingo, here's your drink, like, bye. I go, no, Shaq, come here. Let's talk about the 2 rows you got. And then they'll be like, Andrea, it says you have a special talent. Where's Andrea? And then they're like, oh, right there. I said, hi, Andrea, right? Because then everyone will then turn and face them.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you're highlighting the 2 rows of people that they talk to. And they go, hey, Andrea, did Shaq actually talk to you? She might be like, no. Because you just cheated, because you saw someone else put Andrea's name under that square, because you cheated. And I was like, you're a cheater. X, disqualified. Next person. Everyone starts laughing, right? Or I'm like, do we want to like give him a chance, or give Shaq another chance? And it's very interactive, and they're like, yeah, okay, fine. But I'm like, Andrea, it says you have a special talent. What do you do? Because it's me. I'm like, oh, you dance? Come here. And then I make her dance on the spot,
okay, nice.
right? And then it just makes it super interactive.
Absolutely,
and maybe Shaq or John didn't have a chance to talk to Andrea. Well, now he knows when he does go up to her, he has a speed dating round with her. He knows he can talk about, oh, I see you have some dancing skills. Like, is that salsa? Did I notice that was salsa moves? And they're like, yeah, how did you know? You now have an icebreaker with that person, even though you didn't talk to them. Right? So, but It's something like that where that square says special talent. We get a little bit more fun. Again, not like who works at home. Like, yeah, cool. Like,
this is great, Andrea. I mean, have you thought about transferring these events or this sort of these things into like corporate events? Because I used to work in corporate, and they're goddamn boring. Like,
right?
It's just this sounds amazing. Like, have you thought about like sort of expanding into that?
So the flip side is, I know we didn't even talk about Event Hub, because I knew this was going to happen, because like people love my dating hub business. It's so fun.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is I do professional networking events, game night socials, a lot of and a lot of people are like, I'm not single, but your event sounds so fun. Can I just pretend to be single?
I was going to say, can I just come and just watch? I'll bring
How
my
about
wife,
you and your wife pretend you met at my
single?
event?
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And then I can get the testimonial, right?
All right. Perfect.
No, but I get that all the time. I'm like, I'm not single, but your event sounds so fun. Can you start doing date nights? So I am working on that, but yeah, I definitely do professional networking. I do the same thing. I do speed networking. Yeah. Right. I do the bingo thing. Like, I just get really creative. So I have been hired to do, events, whether it's corporate or other things like that. And it's super fun. I get really creative. There's not a brand, not an industry that I haven't been able to like sort of find a way to create a really cool event for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
that's great. Yeah, this is amazing, Andrea. Like, I love how creative you are and how you're incorporating that in your business. So just to stay away from on a different topic, I would love to hear like your take on how do you deal with challenging situation? Because obviously you have dealt with we talked about your pandemic situation, and then you kind of turned the negative into positive. Like, I'm just curious, how do you deal with challenges now? Like, what is your how do you deal with
challenges?
Yeah, like how did you do that? You just it's general response, like people just stay depressed for a few days and then they kind of put theirs together. But I'll just hear your points. Like, and how do you kind of see
like in
them?
general, whether it's
In general, like, you know, it doesn't,
personal,
it doesn't
career?
have to be like your business or anything. It's just, just your advice on how to deal with challenges.
My first thing that comes to mind is venting, for sure.
You have to have a friend or like somebody, family or something.
I mean, if in the moments, like, you know, have a punching bag, like go to the gym, or
Or maybe ChatGPT. Like,
right? No, but I definitely have to vent. So, you know, whether it's like talking to my boyfriend or a friend, and because sometimes I might do silly things, like as in like I might talk back to, like, let's say your boss, right? Like, let's say you had a hard thing and you're like, I don't agree and I want to, like, here's all the things I want to say to them. It's like you either type it out or you tell that other person where it's safer to tell them, and then calm down and then rethink of the plan on what to do. But I think venting for personal career things, it's so important because you might say the wrong thing and you can't take that back. So definitely venting is a huge one. And venting could mean whatever that release is, whether it means that you're going to punch something because you're angry or you're really sad and you need to cry. But you need to, kind of what we said earlier about processing. You need to process these feelings in a safe way, in a safe manner, before it manifests into something where you're like, that is going to backfire and you can't take back what you say or do at that point. So it's so important to vent and process. And so if it's like crying, you know, punching something, yelling at someone other than the actual person you want to do it to, do that, get it out of your system. And then when you're calm, then rethink, okay, what do I want to do? What is the end goal of what do you want to do? Because sometimes, like, for example, if it's work related, do you really want to say that to your boss and potentially get fired? And also, what are you actually mad about? Because sometimes when we are upset by something else. For example, that happens a lot in our relationships, right? Sometimes, like, I yell at my partner and then I realize, like, oh, I'm actually angry about something else that happened. It's just that he did something that usually, like, it might annoy me on, like, level 2. But because I'm mad about work and he did that thing, it's now like an 8 on me. And then I just yelled my head at him.
Poor guy.
Right? But instead it's like, and then I catch myself and realize, like, oh shit, it's because I was, like, actually really angry at work. So sometimes, like, now, like, again, when you're calm and I realize, like, hey, I'm having a bad day, babe. So, like, kind of like a little warning. It's like, I'm like a little off edge, or it's like, hey, let's say we had plans to go to dinner and I'm like, I'm in a bad mood. So I want to preface him because maybe we had a really good date plan, or maybe he planned something. I'm like, I'm not feeling great right now. So, like, I either need a minute or, like, because I don't want to ruin the thing, but it's like if I speak out of line or just, it's because I'm upset and it's not at you, but I'm at least warning him. And, you know, a good partner would be like, that's okay. Like, what do you need? Like, you need a hug, you need a thing, right? And, you know, about love languages, it's so important that your partner or your friends know what your love language is. So when you're feeling down, do you know what your love language is, Shaq?
I think I do, but you know what? Just for the sake of audience, because I know what love language is, they might not know. So could you just give us
So there's
what
5
is a love language?
Love languages. So there's gifts, touch, words of affirmation, time, and acts of service. Do you want me to explain what? I mean, most of them is self-explanatory, but, you know, for me, it's time and acts of service, because I have like 2 jobs, a million things that I'm doing. For me, quality time. So how I show my affection and love is through, like, making time for my partner and acts of service. So, like, oh, you need me to take your stuff to the dry cleaners, do your dishes, like, do something. And I love it when someone does that for me. So it's really important when you know. So, for example, if I'm having a shitty day, like, maybe someone needs, like, a hug, a bear hug, or maybe they need to, like, you're awesome, like, Shaq, you're awesome, you're amazing, like, screw the other person, like, you just, like, do what you do and rock, like, and it's like, yeah, that's great. Or maybe, you just need a hug, or maybe you're like, I'm gonna treat you to dinner, let's go for dinner, because maybe they like gifts, or it's like, you know, the dishes are piling up, maybe you just need me to do that for you so you don't have to worry about it, right? So having that sort of support system, someone who knows that, and so when you're down, you can get that. That's how you can kind of get over some of your challenges in a very safe way that makes you feel better.
Yeah, that's. I thought that was a very common thing, but I do come across people who's not familiar with that term, love language. But
I mean, speaking of that, I just want to share. It is so profound for you to know your love language, but for your partner to know, or whoever you're dating, because when I didn't know what that was. You know when people start throwing things like, you don't love me, you don't even like me. And you're like, how on earth do you think that I do this thing? Because you know what's happening? You're not aligning on love languages. So I ask you this, like, what is your love language?
I think acts of service probably.
So for example, if you show usually what we like is what we show. So let's say for your wife, you're like, I did the dishes, I took out the garbage, I even folded your clothes, I did all this. And let's say, do you know what your wife's love language is?
I think it's words of affirmation.
Right. And all she wanted to hear for you was like, you're beautiful, babe. I love you.
She didn't care about all the other stuff. Like,
she's like, I don't give a shit you did all that stuff. You said nothing to me today that made me feel good. I just want you to say I'm beautiful, that I love you. And you just did all those other things. And in your head, you're like, I hate folding clothes and I hate doing dishes and I did all those things for you, babe. How can you not see that I love you? That is what I mean by, like, when you don't know love languages, you can spend so much time and effort on all those other things and the other person still doesn't feel that they love you because you didn't hit their love language. So how profound is that to know that? And so next thing you know, you're like, I could just save my time and effort and just say I love you and kind of be done with it. I'm not saying that works all the time, especially for anniversaries and birthdays. Do not forget a woman will kill you. But you see how profound knowing that is?
It's that's another rabbit hole we can get into about gifts. Like,
yes.
Especially for a married man who's been married for almost 10 years. I'm like, just go and buy something. Like, just take my credit card and buy something. No. What do you want me to do? It's just, I don't get it.
She just wants you to at least pick it out or at least try.
What do you mean?
She wants to see you try.
What do you mean? We're married.
You can now use ChatGPT. What is my wife gonna like?
Yeah, I actually use ChatGPT. Okay, I'm not gonna say anything. Valentine's Day card was compliments of ChatGPT, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh man, don't give
use
people
that,
ideas.
Guys. Use that, guys. Just throw in like what she likes and beautiful note.
There's a thing now where you can tell if ChatGPT wrote it.
Yeah, but you write it in your pen, with your handwritten note, right? Just the note came from ChatGPT. But we're almost coming to the end, Andrea. I just want to ask you what makes you happy as an entrepreneur, or it seems like you have expertise in so many things, and you work in corporate before, and you're running your own business right now. A lot of people struggle with running their own business, and I guess my question is, how do you keep motivated, straight driven, and what makes you happy in life?
Yeah, and funny thing is, I took a job, so my day job, I work for someone else doing events, but I made sure I was doing events because I love doing events. But the one thing is, I even told that person, I'm not all about money. I'm not driven by money. So you have to know what you're motivated for. For me, it's making a difference in the world. And I know that sounds so cliche, but for me, even my dating business, everything I told you, I'm transforming lives. I'm making a contribution. Yes, I'm one person, but the impact that I can have on 1, 2, 10 individuals is so great. And I feel so good about that. So for me, my motivation is if I can make an impact, if I can change lives in my own beautiful way, that's what keeps me happy and that's what keeps me motivated.
Great. All right, Andrea, is there anything else you want to maybe plug in? People, I know your socials, and I'm going to plug that in under the YouTube video, but anything else you want to share before we end our conversation?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. First of all,
thank you.
This
is
been
such
a really
fun
great
conversation.
Chat. But if you are a single or know a single and you need some help, I do give free 15-minute consultation if it's your first one. So you can go to torontodatinghub.com for those details and check out, I run 2 to 5 events per month. They're super fun, so make sure you come out. So that's torontodatinghub.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and if you do want to run an event or collaborate with your business owner yourself and you're like, I need some help or I want to create some really cool events together, torontoeventhub.com. But either way, you'll find me. I run everything myself, but I'm super excited to meet and connect with you, or you can come out to one of my networking events. So
all right. Thank you so much, man. I got to say, this is one of the most fun conversations I had.
Thank you.
So hopefully we can stay in touch. And I'm looking forward to actually coming to one of your events.
Yes, come to a networking event.
Absolutely.